Have you ever found yourself asking, God, where are you? Why does it feel like you're silent when I need you the most? We all go through moments in life when doubts and fears take over, making us question whether God is really there. You're not alone in the struggle. Many of us, at one point or another, have faced these moments of uncertainty. But here's the thing. When everything feels like it's falling apart, God is still working in ways we cannot see. Why does it feel like God's voice is silent sometimes? Why does it seem like He's distant when we need Him most? Could be that God is calling us to trust Him in a deeper way. Understanding God's silence doesn't mean His absence. It's important to remember that just because we can't hear Him or see immediate results doesn't mean He isn't there. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still, and know that I am God." Sometimes, God's silence is His invitation to quiet our heart and trust in His plan. It's in those moments of stillness that He teaches us to lean into His presence, to listen for His whispers, and to trust that His timing is perfect. When was the last time you gave yourself space to be still before God? To simply sit in His presence without rushing for answers? God often speaks in the quiet, and if we don't take the time to listen, we might miss the very thing He's trying to say to us. When doubt creeps in, that often rises when we face the unknown. When we don't see immediate changes, we wonder if our prayers are even reaching God. We wonder if He hears us, if He cares, and if He's really going to come through for us. These thoughts are normal, but they are also opportunities for us to deepen our faith. Are you willing to trust God even when you don't understand? Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting God with the questions. When we doubt, it's important to remind ourselves of God's character. It is good. He is faithful. It is trustworthy. And most importantly, He loves us deeply, even in our uncertainty. James 1:5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him in moments of doubt." God is not disappointed in our questions. He invites us to bring them to Him, trusting that He will guide us with wisdom and peace. The power of patience. Sometimes, the hardest part of faith is waiting. We want answers now. We want change now. But God's timing is always perfect, and often, it is doing a work in us during the waiting. The Apostle Paul writes in Romans 8:25, "But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience." Awaiting doesn't mean God is not working. It means He's preparing something greater. Have you ever felt like you've waited long enough? Like your prayers are unanswered, and the waiting is becoming unbearable? It's during these times that God is refining us, building our character, and teaching us to trust His process. Waiting can feel uncomfortable, but it is often in the waiting that we grow the most. Surrendering control. Another key element of trusting God through doubt and uncertainty is surrender. Surrendering control can be one of the hardest things to do, especially when we feel like we should be doing something to fix the situation. We want to control the outcome, but God calls us to trust Him with the results. We are not in control, but He is. When we surrender, we let go of our need to figure everything out on our own and trust that God knows what's best for us. Jesus showed us the ultimate example of surrender when He prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, saying, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. Even though Jesus knew the pain He was about to endure, He trusted the Father's plan. We are called to do the same. When we surrender our doubts, fears, and desires, we allow God to work in and through us in ways we never could have imagined. God's faithfulness in the waiting. In those moments when you feel forgotten or abandoned, remember this truth. God is faithful. He has never left you, and He never will. Even in the waiting, it is working. Even in the silence, He is present. We can trust that God will fulfill His promises, even when we don't see how. The Bible is full of stories of people who waited, trusted, and saw God's faithfulness in the end. Abraham waited for a promised son. Moses waited for God's deliverance of Israel. David waited for the throne. And through it all, God was faithful. And the same God who is faithful to them is faithful to you. God is in control. He sees the end from the beginning, and His timing is perfect. trust that He is working everything out for your good and His glory. Moving forward in faith, so what can we do in moments of doubt and uncertainty? We can choose to trust. We can choose to wait with patience, surrendering our need for control. We can choose to remember God's past faithfulness, and we can hold on to the promise that He is with us, guiding us, and never leaving us. Today, I encourage you to take one step of faith. What area of your life have you been holding on to out of fear or uncertainty? What can you surrender to God today? Take that step and trust that He will be faithful to guide you. You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to trust the one who does. If this message spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you. Share how you're trusting God in your own journey, and don't forget to comment, like, and share this with someone who may need encouragement today. Let's encourage each other to hold on to God's promises and trust His timing. You're not alone in this. God is faithful, and He will see you through every uncertainty. Keep trusting. Keep believing. Keep moving forward, knowing that He is with you every step of the way.